The BT9 Breakdown. For the next couple of episodes, I'll be doing a breakdown of the BT9 set by colors. Video by video, I'll cover red, blue, yellow, green, black, purple, and white with multicolored cards. If there's a particular color you're interested in to get my insight, do head over to the channel and check out the BT9 Breakdown playlist. For the first episode, I'll be strictly covering BT9 red cards. While there are multicolored cards that also have red, they'll be reviewed over in their own standalone multicolor and white video. Each episode will feature the cards, comparisons to previous cards, and of course, potential deck use. And if you enjoy these types of videos, do consider liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and hitting that notification bell for more future content. With that, let's begin! With the arrival of X-Antibody Digimon, I'm going to refer to them simply as Agumon X instead of X-Antibody. These Digimon are also capable of digivolving from their respective normal counterparts, regardless of color, and are typically a zero cost unless they're higher level. Koromon is the first red Digimon that provides DP buffs to standalone Agumon or Greymon Digimon. Interestingly enough, this Digimon does not include Omnimon, which is something that BT5 Koromon did for drawing cards. But when it comes to DP buffs, is it worth the sacrifice to draw more cards with red, lacking consistent card draw? Naturally, there are Digimon that help with this, but ultimately you create vulnerabilities to other cards. This card will be featured as a box topper, similar to the BT6 box toppers with their Digi-Eggs. Mini Dekachimon is a standard 2 on-play cost with 3000 DP. It's almost identical to Monodramon except for the data type versus vaccine. Not a whole lot to say considering there might be more dragon archetypes moving forward with EX3. Agumon X will be the first X-Antibody of the set. This Digimon can digivolve from an Agumon for memory cost of 0, using that new text mechanic with Armored Digimon from BT8. Meaning you can digivolve this over any Agumon in the entire Digimon trading card game, whether you want the yellow, green, or even black. I don't recommend splashing in those colors for the fact that each of those other colors has only one printing, if not two. Its on-plane when digivolving effect allows you to reveal 3 cards and add an X-Antibody and 1 card with Greymon and Omnimon among them to your hand, then placing the remaining cards at the bottom. First off, this Digimon cannot be played by Nokia Shiromine, as the text requirements are Agumon, not a Digimon with Agumon in its name. Because of this, you're more than likely going to be digivolving off of your Agumon to trigger this effect. This card is also the first alt art of the set, featuring also War Greymon X in the background. This deck made some initial waves in Japan, but who knows how North America's meta will actually change with hybrid decks still consistently showing appearances. Guilmon X also joins the X-Antibody family, with a when digivolving effect, delete a Digimon with 3000 DP or less. And again, you're not limited to just red Guilmon, but purple as well. But I do not suggest crossing them with only one Guilmon printing. While that digivolving effect is nice, you won't get it in the raise, meaning you'll have to digivolve it off of a Guilmon to get the effect. But the inheritable adds even more DP to DP based depletion effects and can potentially be very strong in Gallantmon and Gallantmon X decks. Atame Dekachimon is the first red level 4 Digimon in the set, and is a big chunky level 4 at 7000 DP for a 2 digivolve cost. While it's no 8mon, it's one of the few red Digimon that has a higher than 6000 DP stat line, with the only other Digimon in previous sets being Deltamon. This card can be more useful in sealed formats, but otherwise won't see too much play. Growlmon X follows the same inheritable effects of Guilmon X, and in combination with EX2 War Growlmon and Gallantmon, your DP based depletion effects will jump to a maximum of 6000 DP. Meaning older option cards like Atomic Blaster now delete up to 14,000 DP instead of 8. While Guilmon did exist in purple, there is no Growlmon equivalent right now because they're called Black Growlmon and Black War Growlmon. Because of this, Growlmon X stays very neatly in red. Greymon X has a new inheritable that gives Greymon Omnimon deck some inheritable protection against effect deletion and bounce, which can be prevented by discarding 2 cards at the same level in the Digimon's Digivolution sources. This will now provide Blitz Omnimon's protection effect for even cards like Omnimon X-Antibody from BT5. And boy are things going to get potentially silly. There are a crap ton of Greymons to utilize this. Obviously, this deck will find a home with Tribal Greymon. Omni Shoutmon X has Blitz, though funny enough it can Digivolve from an Omni Shoutmon for 0, which implies you would typically just Digivolve it straight up on top of your level 4 and go into security. Note though that this Digimon doesn't have an inheritable effect, but can attack your opponent's unsuspended Digimon. Personally not my favorite of any of them, but there's no denying that this provides some control elements for Shoutmon decks, as well as additional search targets. Wargroundmon X is interesting that when Digivolving, 2 of your opponent's Digimon gain on deletion lose 1 memory. Then if you have Wargroundmon or X-Antibody in the Digivolution cards, you can choose any number of Digimon whose total DP adds up to 6000 DP or less, and delete them. Assuming you meet all the conditions, you can easily Digivolve into this for 0 off of Wargroundmon, and net 2 memory off of the play by deleting 2 Digimon. This lets you go into a Gallantmon if you have the memory fixer, without even passing memory. Metal Greymon X is where the real fun is going to be. Although there's no inheritable, this Digimon can Digivolve from a Metal Greymon for 0 memory, and gain Security Attack +1 until the end of your opponent's turn. If there's a Metal Greymon or X-Antibody underneath it, it gets an additional +3000 DP until the end of the turn. Now if you're using a starter deck Greymon and any red Metal Greymon, you can potentially swing for a total of 3 checks at 11,000 DP. A very safe swing. Alternatively, if you wanted to, you could Digivolve this off of a black Metal Greymon if you wanted to. But honestly, I find Metal Greymon fits better in red than black. You can bet this will see some playability in Tribal Greymon decks, because War Greymon X is next on the list. Digivolve from 1 from War Greymon. All turns when a card is removed from the security stack, gain 1 memory. Meaning if you rip in its security for 3 checks, assuming you survive them all, you'll gain 3 memory back. End of attack, if you have a War Greymon or X-Antibody in the Digivolution sources, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with DP less than or equal to this Digimon. It's pretty much an Omnimon X-Antibody on its own. And don't forget, this card has an alt art as well. Gallantmon X is the last red Digimon before hopping into option cards, and like War Greymon, the Digivolution from Gallantmon is 1, but will otherwise cost 4. When Digivolving, delete 1 Digimon with the lowest DP. Doesn't matter the play cost or the level, just the DP. If no Digimon was deleted, this Digimon is unsuspended. Additionally, once per turn, if a Digimon is deleted while Gallantmon or X-Antibody is in the sources, trash the top card of the security. Gallantmon decks typically go for trashing security effects, as BT2 and Crimson modes were the first appearances that all align with this motif. This card can be easily run with a Gallantmon deck, and can potentially create some lethal interactions very easily. With BT2 Gallantmon swinging in, you'll be able to Digivolve into this, and if you pop nothing, unsuspend and go for game. Especially if playing against purple. Moving to red option cards, there's Flare Rock Soul, Atomic Megaloblaster, and Gaia Force 0. Flare Rock Soul allows you to delete a Digimon with 5000 DP or less, and then Digivolve one of your Digimon into a Digimon with Shoutmon in its name for its Digivolution cost. Meaning you can remove something and then blitz in with Omni Shoutmon X because this Digimon has Blitz. Otherwise, its security effect just pops a Digimon with 5000 DP or less. Viability wise, I'm not quite sure if this card is worth it, but the gimmick with Blitz might be useful. Atomic Megaloblaster is arguably my favorite card of this set. This is an upgrade to Atomic Blaster, a 5-cost option card that lets you delete any number of Digimon whose DP totals 8000 DP or less. But for 1 memory more, you can hit another 2000 DP in the mix. Combined with inheritables from Guilmon X, Groundmon X, EX2 War Groundmon, and Gallantmon, this card hits over 16,000 DP across the board. Easy value. And the last card I'll go over is Gaia Force 0. While still an 8-cost option card, it's nice to see a reduction cost if you have a Digimon with X-Antibody in its Digivolution cards. With War Greymon X, this card can delete 1 Digimon with 13,000 DP or less. Then one of your Digimon with Greymon in its name may attack a player. The value lies in that if War Greymon X has the X-Antibody, you played this option card for 6, then potentially gain memory based on the number of security checks. If BT1 Tai Kamiya is out and you also have an inheritable starter deck Greymon, you could be looking at a 3-cost removal option card. But situationally, this card and Gaia Force have seen very limited play. And like I mentioned before, I prefer Atomic Megaloblaster just on initial impressions. Before signing off on this episode, there's also one more card to go over that comes with BT9. Metal Greymon Alteros mode is one of the possible promos from the box. This card allows you to Digivolve for 0 from a Metal Greymon, not a Metal Greymon Alteros mode, just as Metal Greymon. When Digivolving, you can pop a Digimon with 5000 DP or less, but its inheritable is identical to Greymon X for additional protection from effects that can delete it or bounce it. Again, Chaos Degradation is the ultimate form of removal in the game right now, but it's very costly. This card will definitely see some play moving into BT9, but to what extent is still unknown. What cards are your favorites amongst the red cards? While there are some red mixed cards elsewhere, I'll be covering that in my final video for the BT9 set review. But stay tuned, blue is another fun color that could get some neat upgrades. This is DIGI-PANDA, logging out.